Unbelievable! Quiet, McMahon, I'm trying to watch this! Welcome everyone to this slobber knock and slam fest edition of the Straight Edge Game Room. We got over-the-top action and high-flying feats of death-defying stunts. Today, we're going to be looking at WWF WrestleMania, the arcade game on the Sega Saturn. Let's get into it.
Good evening, everyone. This is Vince McMahon and me, Jerry the King Lawler.
Yeah, I know my promo skills aren't the best, but that's why I'm doing this video game review show and not commentary for World Wrestling Entertainment. I might be able to land a job at Impact, but even that is a stretch. Any case, I got a really fun game to show you that's sort of a mixture of Mortal Kombat 3 and NBA Jam. Don't get me wrong, this game is very fun on its own merits, and it has a lot going for it to make it a unique experience. Though the controls are very similar to that of Mortal Kombat 3, and it has a lot of fantasy physics like that in NBA Jam. And it's made by the same company that made those two games. The roster contains of 8 WWE wrestlers from the New Generation era: Doink the Clown, Razor Ramon, The Undertaker, Yokozuna, Shawn Michaels, Bam Bam Bigelow, Bret the Hitman Hart, and Lex Luger. The great thing about professional wrestling is that most wrestlers have their own gimmick that make them over-the-top, outlandish, perfect for a fantasy fighting video game. Like in Mortal Kombat, you play as digitized versions of live-action actors. Only in this game, the live-action actors are the actual WWE wrestlers. Now, before you guys start squawking and whining in the comments about kayfabe and who these guys really are in their personal lives, I'm not going to get into all that. All I'm saying is that this digitally rendered character is not an actor playing as Razor Ramon. That is Razor Ramon.
Who does he think he is?
This digitally rendered character is not an actor playing as The Undertaker. That is The Undertaker.
It's a total debacle!
You guys know what I mean. Don't cry about it in the comments. Though this game is based on WrestleMania, WWE's flagship wrestling pay-per-view, it's not really a wrestling game so much as it is a fighting game. You don't really win the match by pinfall or submission, though you do pin them when you win a round, but you pin them irregardless. What I love about this is that they didn't take the WWE license and just neglect or abuse it. They put a lot of fan service into this game, and a lot of the moves that you see correspond with the wrestlers' gimmicks. Even when the wrestlers get beaten up on, there's things that fall out of them that correspond with their gimmick. In this game, you can build up your MP, if you want to call it that, and once it says combo, you can grab your opponent and do a combo. One of my favorite characters to do this with is Bam Bam Bigelow. Check this out. Brutal, absolutely absurd and ridiculous, but I love it. It's not true to life professional wrestling. It has a lot of fantasy elements, but that's what makes this game really fun and endearing. One of the fantasy moves in this game is the Undertaker shooting ghost. That stuns enemies temporarily and it leaves them open for attack, so you can go over there and give them a choke slam or a pile driver. There's a lot of things in this game that I like. When you play against the computer, you have 2 modes of exhibition. You can go after the Intercontinental title, or if you want even more of a challenge, you can go after the World Heavyweight title. It's all up to you. Unfortunately, this is only a two-player game. There are several wrestlers in the ring when you play against the computer, because when you go after the Intercontinental title, later it has you fight two wrestlers, and then later three. In the World Heavyweight title, you fight against two wrestlers, later three, and then at the very end, you take on the whole roster. You know, it is kind of a pain in the butt to be ganged up on by the computer, so sometimes it's just easier to kill them all with Yokozuna. It's kind of a bummer that this game is only two players, but it's still a lot of fun to play at home with your friends, your cousins, your family members, passing that controller around, taking turns fighting each other. So even though it has a lack of multiplayer, you're still going to have a great time. I guarantee it. And I recommend this game for family game night. Though this game is WrestleMania, it doesn't have variety concerning stages. You play in the same ring, with the same ring apron, and at the same venue. I think it would have been great to see a Royal Rumble ring apron, a Raw ring apron, King of the Ring, and so on. But this is still a fun game. It just has a lack of variety concerning those aspects. I have this very same game ported to other consoles. I have it on the Sega Genesis and the PlayStation as well, and I'll get to those in another review. But one thing I wanted to say about this version is that it doesn't have background music during the matches. You will have background music in other ports and in the original arcade itself. I don't know why they excluded it from this, but it's kind of a drag. Though this game is available on other consoles, I think this is one of the best ones. It's excellent also on the Sega Genesis and the Sega 32X, but those have a very similar control to this, and that's what makes this game more fluid and fun to play. Some of you out there might prefer the button layout on the PlayStation or the Super Nintendo, but I really like the 6-button configuration on the Sega Genesis and on the Sega Saturn. To each their own, but I really like the feel of the Sega Saturn controller in this game. One other thing that gets annoying after a while are the load times, but that's what you gotta come to expect from disc-based video games in the mid-90s. But that doesn't hinder this game from being fun. You're still gonna have a great time with this game. It's just, those are some of the things I bring up to be balanced. I gotta talk about the bad and the good things, but fortunately for this game, there's more good than there is bad. You know, I mentioned the over-the-top gimmick moves earlier, but I can't end this review without showing you some of Doink the Clown's moves. I also like this one from Razor Ramon, which he never performed in real life. Just a slobber-knocking fun time. Well, that concludes this episode of the Straight Edge Game Room. If you have any suggestions for what video game or video game accessory you want me to review, please drop it down in the comments below. And I'll see you again next time.